I still remember that magical morning when I first saw the flower bloom in my garden. For me, it wasn't just a flower, it was a symbol of life, hope, and love, nurtured patiently over the years. Every petal, every hue carried a memory. This flower was more than a plant, it was a part of my soul. I had watched it grow from a tiny sprout into the beautiful, vibrant bloom that now stood proudly in my yard. It was my pride, my peace, my joy. Before I start telling this story, I want to know from where you all are watching my video. Please mention your location in the comments. Also, if you have ever experienced a similar HOA situation, make sure to share it too so I can understand how far people's HOA issues can go. Now, let's begin our video. My name is John, and long before I moved into this HOA community, I had always been a gardener at heart. Flowers weren't just decorations, they were companions, teachers, and friends. I spent hours tending them, giving them a small part of my life, and in return, they gave me countless moments of happiness. But today, that joy is under threat. Earlier this week, I received a notice from my HOA. It was crisp, formal, and chilling in its tone. The notice demanded that I either remove the flower or pay a fine of $8,000. $8,000, a sum that's beyond my means. The notice cited complaints from my neighbor, Mrs. Blackwood, who apparently objected to the placement of my flower among the other 6 in my yard. I couldn't understand it. For over 10 years living here, I had never received a single violation notice. Never once had the HOA intervened in my gardening. And now, suddenly, my most cherished flower, my symbol of life, is being threatened. My heart ached. To cut it down felt like destroying a piece of myself. Yet paying the fine would feel like surrendering to injustice, rewarding spite with money. Mrs. Blackwood has always been someone fascinated by gardening, yet her yard has no flowers like mine. I couldn't help but feel that her complaint stemmed from envy rather than any genuine concern. Perhaps she wanted to take revenge, to diminish what I had nurtured. The more I thought about it, the clearer it became. This was not about gardening regulations. This was about resentment and power. Fortunately, I had a friend who knew the inner workings of the HOA. He had insight into their policies, and the previous officer, a retired HOA manager named Karen Wright, she had been fair and understanding, and I had always maintained good standing under her tenure. The current officer, Miss Emily Saunders, was new and seemed eager to assert authority without understanding the history. I decided to document everything: photos of the flower, records of my gardening, and testimonials from neighbors who admired my garden. This wasn't just about a flower anymore. It was about standing up against arbitrary rules, against a neighbor's jealousy, and preserving something beautiful that had grown alongside my own life. As the days passed, tension grew. I noticed Mrs. Blackwood often watching my yard with a scrutinizing eye. Every step I took seemed to be under her judgment, yet I refused to let fear or intimidation guide my actions. This flower was my life's work, and no notice could take away the love and care embedded in its roots. I reached out to my friend who had connections within the HOA. I explained everything: the history of the flower, the complaint, and the absurdity of the fine. My friend promised to intervene, explaining that the HOA's official rules never required the removal of a mature, well-maintained flower without cause. The fine was not legitimate. It was a tool of harassment. With this support, I requested a meeting with Emily Saunders, the current HOA officer. I showed her the documentation, explained the flower's significance, and highlighted my impeccable record. I spoke calmly but firmly, emphasizing that the complaint was personal, not procedural. Emily hesitated, sensing the weight of the evidence against her arbitrary notice. Meanwhile, Mrs. Blackwood continued her subtle provocations, but I refused to engage. I knew that reacting with anger or retaliation could be used against me. Instead, I focused on presenting facts, preserving the flower and maintaining integrity. Finally, the HOA convened a small review session. With my friend advocating on my behalf, it became evident that the complaint had no legal or procedural basis. The officers reviewed the history of my gardening and the previous fair management under Karen Wright. They recognized that the notice was unjust and officially retracted it. The flower remained untouched. Its petals shimmered in the sunlight, vibrant and alive, a testament to patience, love, and perseverance. Mrs. Blackwood received a notice instead, warning her against filing baseless complaints in the future. That day, I realized something profound. Beauty and dedication could withstand envy and bureaucracy. My flower wasn't just a plant anymore. It was proof that standing up for what you love is worth every challenge. The HOA, when guided by fairness, could recognize right from wrong, and my friend's intervention had been the bridge between injustice and resolution. This story is based on real-life experiences. John had a friend who knew the HOA's internal workings, and through this connection, they were able to demonstrate that the flower had always been maintained properly, with prior permission when necessary. The notice was a result of a baseless complaint, and the HOA wisely reversed it, allowing the flower to remain in its rightful place. In the end, it wasn't just a victory for John, but a reminder that truth, patience, and community support can protect what is cherished from envy and arbitrary authority. If you enjoyed our video and liked the story, I have a small request for you. Please subscribe to our channel, HOA Story YT, and give this video a thumbs up. After subscribing, turn on the notifications so that you don't miss any of my new videos and we can stay connected with each other.